Alright, so today I wanted to discuss really quickly the kind of remaining days left for you guys to join the challenge. So to join the challenge, go to the Google community icon, the little G plus icon on my website, sprek.com. Click it and it'll take you to our community, and you have to post to the challenge submissions, and when you guys are done, post your finals on the 8th. So early on the 8th, not before 5 p.m. my time. If you don't have a calculator, there are calculators online for you guys to use. If you post it after class starts, I'm not going back and getting the remaining pieces. I'm going to just go in early and then get all the stuff I wanted to look at, and we look at it together. It's you have to post it on the 8th before 5 p.m. Okay? I don't think anyone has time at all anymore to look at it, because today is the 1st. Or, sorry, this is the 8th. The 8th of February. Sorry, I'm looking at the other 8th because they're both Thursday. So today's the 1st. This 8th it's due. And so you guys only have 1 week. So I don't know how much drafting or thumbnails you'll do, but pretty much everyone should know about it. I've announced it in the beginning of every class already. Patrons will also be doing this challenge, but they'll have an extra month to do it, and it'll be a little bit more free reign, and they will be allowed to kind of choose the gender and culture that they like. But it'll still be technically the same thing. And then we just had yesterday was it? No, Tuesday we had our patron meetup, and they get like a 2-hour call with me, and we discuss everything. So for anyone interested in Patreon, an affordable alternative to private tutoring, okay, so go to Patreon if you're looking for an alternative. That's a little bit more personal than public, and a little bit more focused. Even as a watcher, you can support this channel. We're aiming for 1,000 patrons, and the apprentice tier is the tier for you if you're looking for more focused studies. So you can head over there. But I think that's it for announcements. I have nothing else really to announce. As for our next challenge, did you guys want, I could assign the next challenge and write up for it. It's not going to be month after month. I do not do that. The next challenge will be months from now. I don't have enough time really to assign a challenge for you guys and announce for it and set up a resource pack and write up a narrative that is appealing every single month. That will make me crazy. And pretty much Patreon has reserved me for every single month. They get the monthly stuff, of course, but for our next challenge, I will most likely host it around April or March. And it will have a more of an open concept poll, less of a narrative, probably something just as high fantasy, but just a little bit less strict and more open, gender-wise, culture-wise, color-wise. So this one was pretty specific passage that we drew from for our challenge. So the next one will be a little bit more easy, though I would like to host the poll now. So the challenge isn't going to be up in February, but I still want to host the poll so the poll can run for as long as possible. That will be fun. So I might set up a poll soon. I need to get to finalizing the Q&A for the 14-day challenge, and so I most likely will make another post for the community. And right now I have the 14-day challenge question, so thank you to everyone who posted questions for that to make the Q&A for it a little bit more specific. But I will post another one requesting from you guys, or maybe you guys can discuss it with the mods and see what the mods say. But we can take your suggestions on what the next challenge will be. We'll put it up on the polls and see who wins. It could be anything. But you guys have to input some of your own creativity in the upcoming challenges. I'm not all out of challenges. I do have a couple up my sleeve, but I'm saving those for the high intensity passage kind of narratives that I'll have to have time to write. But for the ones in between that can be a little bit more loose, you guys can make suggestions for those. So anything like creature design or weapon design or anything else that you guys want to talk about, that's studio, game kind of theme designs, which are equally interesting and equally unique fantasy-wise. But I think that's it. I think that is actually it. So, dragons is the theme for the character challenge. What? Dragons? You mean for the current challenge or for the upcoming challenge? Like I said, you guys can make suggestions. Either take them to the mods, or I will post a thing right at the end of class, so that you guys can make a post there. If you want to communicate with me in the channel, on the posts that I make. I read there. I may not be able to respond to every person. That's a lot of people in our Google Plus community. But if you want to communicate with me there, you may, and the mods can reach me as well. You may reach out to them. I might have to just get in more mods, but I'm a bit more strict now with who gets to mod. You'd have to be a little bit more dedicated and with some time on your hands to be able to mod for me. But yeah, if you would like some of your thoughts expressed and you can't get a hold of me, my mods might be able to if you message them on the Google community, and they might be able to just get a hold of me like that. So that is it. Let me get into today's lecture. Today's discussion is going to be about how to find an edge and how to block in. And I'm going to use this piece right here. And I'm going to just spend my time and take my time kind of just figuring this whole thing out. So, what is an edge and why do we need it? An edge is the indicator that a new plane has started. So when we outline, an edge used to be a line. So write that back to me. An edge used to be a line. That means that just throw a bunch of lines here, and eventually we'll start to make out a shape. Ooh, look at the shape starting to show. What a cool shape. Okay, and now it looks like a weird, funky chair. But all of these will eventually be the border between one value and the value beside it. So this one will be its own value, and this one will be its own value. So every line will become an edge. So it's like Digimon. You guys remember Digimon? I love Digimon. I don't care what anybody says about Digimon. Digimon was the best. I don't care. Got me through my life. But remember those little baby Digimon with like the leaves? And they were so cute, and their little turds looked like that. Well, this is what a line is. A line is a baby Digimon. And it's just chilling and just enjoying life. Eventually, it'll become the Mega Something Mon, and it'll become an edge, Mega Polygon Mon, and it'll be really, really cool. And it won't have any lines anymore. It'll have solid values that distinguish each side from the other. But there are some really, really weird edges that happen sometimes. There's only 2 of them really so far, but there are other types that you might find, but these are the main ones for your job, which are the edge of an angle change. So imagine getting a piece of paper and folding it. Okay, this is an edge. The fold in the paper is an edge. Mega Polymon. Okay, Nelson, you're going to be put on timeout. Shut up. So, this should be what you guys are doing, by the way, mods. Oh, and Taurus, I didn't know you were going to be here. Would you like to mod for me? Please mod for me. Okay. So, this is one type of edge right over here. Another type of edge is one object in front of the other. So one object and another one behind it. Okay. And it's only these 2 that you should concern yourself with. So let's move on to the actual paint over. So where do we have lines in the reference? And this is something that I have been spending a lot of time on recently. With my recent campaign, on Patreon, on here, on private tutoring, everywhere I'm teaching, I am now talking about the way to heal this epidemic we have in our community, which is the lack of blocking. And blocking is one side of a polygon. Blocking is just one side. You get your brush stroke and you're throwing in one side mother. Okay. So getting my brush. This is one side of a polygon. Just one easy, quick side. Maybe it has extra little pieces in it here and there. But we can't just throw brush strokes willy-nilly. These brush strokes have to be guided by some sort of anatomy, some sort of structure. And so this is where drawing over your reference comes in. This is an edge. This is an edge. This is an edge. This is an edge, and this is an edge. This is an edge. This is an edge. And I wonder sometimes what you guys see in your references when you're looking at your references and something like this comes out where it's really, really early in your reference, but none of these edges are available here. None of them. You have one value that is moving in one, just in the same, like this midtone travels probably from here to here. Pretty much the same value. We look over here, you got like a hurricane, you've got like a sandstorm of values. Or why? Why is this happening? Why does this happen in your work, you guys? This happens because you're not understanding the basic polygon underneath everything, and you don't have enough form studies. Form studies give you a new appreciation for the value and the subtlety of a value. The value and the subtlety of a value. Yeah. The importance of subtlety in values for polygons, because the point of having cubes is that you gave each one shade. Each side of a polygon should have how many shades? I want to see the answer in the comment section. So what is it? And this many shades is all you're allowed. And if a student is allowed to, I feel like doing this today. My mom yelled at me, so I'm just going to use a bit of a darker value. And, you know, I did enjoy that text from my boyfriend, so I'm just going to throw in a really, really bright, sparkly value. And then I'm just going to, you're just adding shades willy-nilly. You don't care whose life you're ruining. And you can't do this anymore. You can't just throw in whatever shades you like. One shade. Each poly side gets one shade, which means one shade equals, what does it equal? What does one shade mean? Equals one. Each side of a polygon should have one shade, which means one what? I'm waiting. One shade, no gradation. Exactly. Gradation. Which is it? I'm waiting. There's some time to drink some water. I've been teaching all day. No, one shade equals one. This is an aha moment that I will not strip from you. One. Oh my God, you guys aren't getting it. One value. One shade is value. It's not saying one shade equals one shade. No, duh. One shade equals what? And you guys got to get this. This is why you guys are fucking up. Because what's happening in here? How many of these do we have? We have many. We have 3 shades here, which is caused by how many? No, it's not a synonym for shade. It's not. One shade equals one brushstroke. Oh. Okay, and that's called blocking in. So it's very simple, but it's not easy. Simplicity and basics don't always mean easy. One shade equals one brushstroke. One brushstroke done with 100% opacity. Okay? 100% opacity means that there are edges. Beautiful, sexy, wonderful edges that are just all the rage. They're the alpha and the omega of your drawing. It's easy to blend. A baby can blend. A baby can get their hands and just blend something. But can a baby understand? Stupid babies, am I right? Do they understand how to stop an edge exactly right where the polygon changed directions and maintain a midtone long enough to represent the surface area of that polygon surface? No. All right, so don't be like baby. One shade equals one brushstroke, and one brushstroke equals edges. And edges are, they used to be lines, which is a good hint. If you were to sketch this face, where would you put lines? Well, I would just, being a beginner, I'd be like, oh yeah, yes. I'm putting lines all over the nose because that's what noses want. Yes, it is. I'm gonna put an edge right here, if I even saw that one. And I'm gonna one massive edge on the outline. I'm gonna make the eyes just a little bit longer. So whatever you would have drawn, whatever you would have done eventually, if you were sketching it, this is where you make an edge. So I don't know why you guys think blocking is optional. It's not optional, any more than breathing is optional. Because blocking is where you actually show your geometry work. Blocking is where all of this becomes a form study. Blocking in is the form study in your painting. Blocking in is where form studies come back to your paintings. Blocking in is the benefit of form studies. Blocking in well is what you studied when you were doing a form study. Blocking in equals form studies. Write that back. So, so our weaknesses will be value sharing and no structure and values. Value sharing is a cause of not knowing how to block in, because you're not thinking about it in planes, you're thinking about it in this area is generally darker than this area, so I'm just going to give it a value. I don't care where else I've used this value. I'm going to give it its own value wherever. That's value sharing. That's wrong. Every value speaks and is related to the other values. You cannot use any value unless it is representing the same kind of cavity or elevation as anything else on the face, because it all goes back to one light source. At the end, you can't do a form study using lines. You have to do a form study with shades, and shades mean light source. Write that back as well. Shades mean light source. So I'm not sure why I had to do this, but I had to. I had to go in there and actually draw these lines for you, which will become edges. This is not line dependency. This is a better way, well this is, but a better way to become interactive with your reference. And blocking in, essentially, please, if you take anything away, blocking in means the value gets to travel as long as the plane traveled. So let's say I made this shape. In fact, let's say I made this shape right here. Okay, whatever. All right. Is this part of the value, is this part of the surface area the same, is A the same value as B? If the light source was, let's say, top down this way. I'm waiting for the answer. I'm gonna drink some more water. Got a gym session later. Okay. Just waiting for YouTube to send my voice across with a 3-minute fucking wait. Yes, it is, Tom. Yes. Yeah. I was worried I was going to get a no. But A is the same value as B. What if I did this? Sorry, I'm running out of space, but what if I did this? So this is like a roller coaster. Is A the same value as B? This one was yes. So for anyone who said no, I'm just going to send an assassin after you for saying that. Yes, because they're all facing the same direction. Even though the road turned, it doesn't mean that anything changed. They're all still the same distance from the ground. If it's a universal light source, yes, it is. Okay. Yeah, so this one is the same distance from the ground as this one. When I'm saying same distance from the ground, I'm just saying altitude. altitudes of the same distance from the ground, sorry, it's not exactly distant, but you know, I'm telling you it is, they have the same value. So B and A, yes, do have the same value. C does not, because C is a higher plane. It'll get more light than these two. Sometimes, if it's universal, C will also look very, very similar to B and A. Okay? These are fundamental rules. Distance from the ground means elevation. Negative distance from the ground means cavity. So if there was just a hole, his name is Bob, and he's just chilling there. It's just a hole in the ground. Okay? He has none of these values. None of these values are used on Bob. Even if Bob's flat bottom, right over here, Bob's flat bottom is not used any of these values because he's a negative from the ground. So the ground at this point is the reference point. Okay, and that's called an altitude. So the nose has a very far distance based on its geometry as well from the rest of the face. And therefore it is given one of the brightest and oiliest too values. Not an oily value, but it is the oiliest, and so it gets a higher value. So a couple things we just learned all over again. Altitude changes and raises a value. And the opposite applies in negative and hills and cavities and stuff. And let your value run long enough. If she had a million bumps, okay, fine. If she had a million crazy bumps all over her face and these were her eyelids, it's okay. I understand now why you used 1,000 little values because, well, it wasn't one consistent plane. But even then it has a neighborhood value, which means it has some kind of neighborhood. It has some kind of rule. It has some kind of local value to this one specific set of things, whatever they are. But she's just human. She's not a weird creature with bumps all over her face and an alien or deformity or something like that. She just has skin, and skin likes to move in the same value for a long period of time, and you can find them stretching everywhere. So where do we put these blocks, Istibrak? We'll find your edges first. So your edges are as I drew them earlier, and these are your blocks. And every single one of your block stops at one of these edges. So there's another. And these are the brush strokes I apply to my work. This is another block. This is a block. This is one massive block. This is a block. And this is blocking in. This is a block. So these lines in between them, these are not edges. These are just the blocks. The edges were the red marker. Remember, these are just brush strokes I'm applying with different values. These are the cut lines for the values, but these are the edges. Okay, don't confuse the blue as the edge. I'm talking about block of paint. It can't just have one big large block of paint to apply everything. Every single one has to address the change in planes, but doesn't mean an edge is always there in the change of plane. Sometimes we have curved change of plane. So this is one large block, and this is the red edge beneath it. And then another large block. So please stop it. Stop doing this madness with your constant blending. I mean, what are you blending for? Why are you overdoing the blending? If all you had to do was address these changes in the polygon. I can say you need to do more form studies. I can say that. But I need to explain why you need to do more form studies, which is why I'm doing this annoying demonstration today. Okay? Please do more form studies because this. All right, everything that I said before this moment. Any questions? Okay, Nelson, I don't know what changed. You used to be pretty chill, but I'm gonna have to put you on timeout again. I'm being way too nice. One more time, Nelson, and I'm kicking you. Blending my feelings away. All right, so let's apply all this in demonstration over here. Let me prove to you this works. You bunch of blackguards. All right, so like I said earlier, get rid of the pupils. They're just going to be in your way. I'm giving the eyes, what am I giving the eyes? One solid value, relatively light. All right, so I'm blocking first her lower eyelid. Not so worried about the puff of the lower eyelid and the extension of it or the hood of it. Just looking for the lower eyelid, giving that appropriate sharp edge. I'm not even thinking about, dreaming about, fantasizing about blending yet. Right, and another quick block. La la, just like that. And then it's okay if I've gotten all the measurements wrong. It's all right. And then another block. Look at it. Look at that. Look at how much read we have already just by blocking. All right, so stop messing around. I'm trying not to swear nowadays. I made a pact with God. I said, fix my back and I'll stop swearing. So I've been trying not to swear. Fudge. And, so please don't make me swear. Alright, and then we have the side of the nose. Too dark. I don't want a value share. I'm going to give it a lighter value. Alright, she's got a nice broken nose. Okay, so I'm extending these midtones to last. I'm not letting these midtones just carry on and on till infinity, until the second coming, and then the Messiah will finally stop a constant blending. His first job will not only be world peace, but it will be to stop the constant blending in the art community. That is one of okay, I should not be joking about this. Anyway. Then another one of these right over here. Alright, nice, solid block. Ooh la la, look at that. And I know her eyes are hooded. They're catching a lot of light, so I'm just going to give her one large block there. This is why your brushes... I never said your brushes paint for you. I never said brushes do the job for you. But you can't dig a hole. You can't dig a grave with a spoon. Alright, you still need the tools. Alright, so the eyebrows, way too dark, way too soon. You shouldn't have been worrying about pigmentation right now. We haven't even drawn the pupils. We're just blocking. Shrinking my brush as I go. We block large to small. Why do we block large to small? Anyone? This is value segregation. How do you block in round shapes? What do you mean? So her cheeks? How do you block in round shapes? You just follow the contour. I mean, you're going to go into blending sooner on a round shape than a polygon. Anyway. So you'll get your blending faster and then you can blend. But, I mean, you can blend in, I mean, you can block in general description of, like, sections together, yeah. To delay the details. For overlapping the strokes, and it is like radial shading. Small brush equals detail, exactly. It's much more organized, general to particular. What does enlarging your brush do? Look at my canvas. What's happening? What does enlarging our brush do for us? Way too dark, way too symbolic. Shadows are all wrong. Blocking this in, blocking the sides of the nostrils. Just providing the paint brush, providing the painting with more edges than it needs. Because when you blend, you'll know you won't have a deficit of edges. Give the paintbrush more edges than, give the paintings, oh damn it. Give the painting more edges than it needs. Alright? So, no. We use the large brush so we zoom out. When you zoom this much in and your brush is this big, does this make any sense at all? You're like running out of space. So using a large brush is an incentive, or not an incentive, but like something that forces you to zoom back out. Alright, using a large brush makes you zoom out. So, what was I saying? Give the brush, give the painting more edges than it needs, so that you'll never have a deficit of edges later on. Okay, so there aren't any edges here, so I'm trying to blend that out. Starting to shape out the eyebrows with some edge work. I will blend them later. Okay, so you were, how many minutes were you into this painting? Painter person? I don't know where you are. Man, you post a lot of spam on your page. Like 5 days ago, you probably had like 4 scrolls of posts and reshares of memes and stuff. I mean, I'm not telling you how to use Google Plus, but I've never seen that before. So I was trying to find this painting here. But yeah, the artist for this, please remember that the amount of time you spent to get to the level it was in before I started blocking in, doesn't it piss you off that we did more work in a couple minutes than you did in probably the entire hour or 2 that you spent on that painting? And you said you gave up on it, I think I read. Right? Look at how small my brush is now. Now I can address the smaller blocks. Alright, and then the gradients in between each block. So sometimes we're adding more polys. So can anyone explain what adding more polys means? To those who have never done 3D modeling or have used it. I'm not taking questions now. This is too intense a demonstration. I can't stop for questions. I can do it at the end. Google shaming. Adding edges on blended stuff is such a pain. Guilty. Zoom in too soon. Soft brush all day and blend until your hands are bloody stumps. Okay, then what we're going to do is, la la la, we got to zoom in. And now we can block in some smaller planes. Adding planes, exactly. So when we block in smaller planes, we're adding more planes to the poly count. Polygon, just we're adding more polys. Adding more planes. And then I see an edge there. I know my edge is not sufficient enough because look at how thin her line is, so I can probably extend this to be a little smaller. There will be some serious detailing later with soft brush and with radial shading, but not just yet. Okay, then she's got her lower eyelid and her waterline. Okay, so provide the painting with more edges than it needs so that you will never be at a loss for edges, and you can just blend away. So when do you blend and which side do you blend? So mostly you don't need to do a lot of blending. It's very, very minimal blending that you'll need in order to pull off a reed. So when we're blending, we're just looking for what happened before the edge. That's what we're blending. We're blending outside of the edge. One side will always be blended. In this case, both sides are going to be blended because this is her forehead. But we still had to have a shade for each side, part of her temple rotating away from the canvas. And then we have, let's say, okay, right along the eye socket right here, this is where we blend. But do we blend like this? No. If you do this, I will find you. Okay? What you do is you blend above. You just leave this alone. Okay? You leave the lower part alone and you blend the upper bit. So it looks like the fat is gradually tucking in between the eyeball and the bone of the eye socket. Look at that. Okay? And then all you need is a couple more descents of value. And what do you have? Realism, skill, edge work, all of that is just intact. And that was radial. That was radial work with my blocking brush. Right. So if you don't, I always say try not to use the soft brush. I always say try not to use it. I'm blending on this side of the brush stroke right over here because that's part of the eyelid that looks away. And what am I doing? What's the word for this? We're already doing this. What's the word for it? Anyone? Any of my mods know what this is called? What's this called? I'm using darker lines. I'm bringing in, my brush is really, really small. I'm all the way zoomed in. I'm bringing contrast. What's this called? Oh my gosh, I know there's a word for it. All right. Look at that. I'm finding these little highlights. No. Rendering. Exactly. That's rendering, guys. This is rendering. So for anyone who doesn't know what rendering is, we're just going to call this whole video, what are edges? What is an edge? What is button edge? Okay, it's called rendering. Okay, so I'm blending away at the eyebrows now. I don't want them to look like caterpillars. And I'm blending away at the nose. Nothing stays unblended, but everything gets blended in different degrees. Some really, really high definition edges of low fat bone. What? Sorry, I thought something happened. Of low fat bone won't contain any fat in them, and they'll just be edges. Sorry, one second. I think something's happened. I have no idea what just happened. Just major interruption. Okay, so what was I saying? That everything gets blended, but some stuff stays intact. Okay, so, and stays intact meaning that it's blended, but with a really, really small smudging brush. See how I have to go back and just clean up all over again? So everything is about reorganizing, pampering, treating your edges with respect. At no point does any of this work get painted away. You preserve your edges, all right? So write that back to me. Preserve your edges. I'm not so concerned with likeness right now. I'm just trying to complete the demo with some level of success today. Okay, and then there's the nostrils. So there's some edge work here. See that? One of these sides is going to get blended. One side of this brush stroke is going to get blended. There's going to be this one. Preserve your edges. Exactly. Pickle your edges. Oh my god. Please stop. Focus. Alright. And then the whole nose hooks down and is in front of the space right under the septum. So that means the whole nose gets this nice little edge right there. And if there are gradients, what do we do? When do we bring those in with what tool? Soft brush. Okay? And we bring them in with like a nice darkened layer to keep it low and like not really that invasive, and we kind of just introduce it later. And this is my entire technique. And it is high efficiency and high fidelity with edges, and it is focused on all the major fundamentals. It is very geometry focused, geometry based. It is science based. It is constantly thinking about the light source, and I want to teach you guys this method, and I use it for every painting that I do. All of them work like this. So I'm just going to get rid of some of these lines over here. Just on either side of the nostril. I'm going to block in some shadows. This is when I start to detail. I'm detailing, but from a distance. When I detail from a distance, I use my darken and lighten layers. So I don't have to constantly correct what I do. Okay. And then value sharing along the nose. Got to correct that. And this is rendering. All my edges are intact. Everything is still intact. I still have another shade to bring in, but look at how much reed we already have. So we've got this shade to bring in. This one. These couple shades that I showed you guys earlier. A couple of dark spots over here. I'm just trying to get the width right on the face. And then kind of radially introducing those sides. Blocks on either side. Each of these is a plane. Each of these is a polygon. So let me open the Portrait Studio for you. Sorry about that. And I'll show you what I mean by poly. Okay. Alright, so model library. Each of these is one of these. This is a shade, this is a brush stroke, this is a shade, a brush stroke, brush stroke, brush stroke, brush stroke, brush stroke. You have to have this first before you can have anything else, because these are what respond first to the change of light. Okay? These and nothing else. It doesn't matter what happens to the detail of the sparkly anime eyes. It doesn't matter what your style is. Doesn't even matter what your vision is. At this point, you turn off your creativity, because your creativity does not affect whether or not the light works or not. All right? Each of these planes, each of these polys, each of these little guys, each of these little changes here in between every single surface is a brushstroke. Okay? All right? Please remember this. So now I'm just going to go ahead and detail. I'm going to kind of go on autopilot and start blending. What am I blending? I start always with the highest level of blending, which is the fat pockets. Kind of get that out of the way so I know how large my brush is supposed to be. Forehead can get the same size brush, but only because it's round and it's on the frontal lobe. It doesn't get this, but it definitely gets a little bit more of a gradient. I wouldn't blend it as much as I just did, because I just kept talking and talking and talking. Okay. Then I would blend away at some areas where I feel it. So right here, this is a blended area. Okay, see the pupil? I don't miss it. Do you miss the pupil? I don't miss it. I'm going to block in some areas. Sorry, I'm blending and blocking at the same time. Okay, look at this. Look at how much reed we already have. Okay, and then a little bit of that bump of the inner corners of the eyes right over here. A little shadow. Bloop, bloop. Just like that. And then blending. So I'm blending the top sides of these brushes because I have to merge them back in with their environments. Blending areas that kind of melt back in, sink back in beneath. So all of this lower eyelid area here gets sunken back in. My brush is nice and small for all this blending. Blending the top part of these brush strokes, but leaving the edge that they belong to intact. She's a very unusual face. Not one feature is kind of average. She's got an out of average feature in all the directions. Right? So the whole likeness thing might be an issue. You might still have to sketch for likeness. You might still have to assess your brush strokes for likeness and plan. Make sure that every brush stroke follows the blueprint and trend lines that you originally designated before you even thought about laying down some paint. Because I've been doing this for so long, I can pretty much eyeball most of the likeness, but I am losing some of it though. I'm just bringing in some eyebrow texture from the paint outside. So these are edges, okay? This is it. It's done. It's high time I did this video. See this little sliver of skin in between both edges? I'm gonna just zoom in and apply that. Really important little detail. Just like that. Same thing on this side. Maybe I applied too much paint. No, that's good. And then I go back to blending. Not blending any of my edges away. Am I doing this? No, but this is what you guys do. My strength is low. Look at how low my strength is. 17%. Basically opacity. 17% opacity. Okay, blending wherever I find gradients. This is a gradient. This is a gradient. I found an edge that I didn't see earlier. Go right back to my blocking brush. And the blocking brush I'm using is just my number 2 blocking brush in my dry oil set. Okay, so that's the one I'm using. Has a nice sharp edge with some texture left behind for intrigue, but that's about it. That's his, you know, that's the requirement. You just have to have a hard edge. Blocky, squared shape, like your brushes would be in traditional. Okay, I'll take questions now if you guys have any questions at all while I'm still doing this, and then we can call it a day. But edge work is the only thing you have. It's all you really have. It's what will help you make sense of all this madness. This is madness. Shit, I have to fight. Okay, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. My strength is low. Istarak, 2018. Wow. You're gonna quote that? I'm too alpha to ever say that. I would never admit that. Yeah, I would. I've done it a couple times. I'm not that alpha. Alright, so I'm blending right here. The forehead slides right into the bridge of the nose. Any questions at all? If you have any questions, write at Istabrak, please. Her eyebrows come to quite a point, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. I don't want to lose too much likeness points. No, you cannot block with round brushes. Absolutely not. Let us laugh and point at that question. I'm so sorry, Kelly. Absolutely not. God bless you for your question. Thank you. It was a good question, but no. No, 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 no. I was thinking recently about getting a little dog, and I don't know how loud she would be in here. So, I hope you guys know that I'm sacrificing a dog for you. For you people. Okay, so her edge of her eyelids is sharp. It's not as sharp as I made it. But you see, I provided more edges than I needed. So I can adjust as I go. So if you're relatively advancing or intermediate and all of this is new to you and you've never really seen this deconstructed like this before, I suggest you try another 14-day challenge, because you may know what to do with your, what happens, what it looks like at the end may be nice, but the road there might not have been very graceful. You might have made many mistakes and used too much soft brush and edged later, a horrific reality that I know is out there, blocking later for some god-awful reason. So if you are not good with blocking, you're good, you just don't block well. You need to stop. You need to pull that saturation lever all the way down to grayscale, and you need to try this whole art thing again. Because if your technique is faulty, you do not have a dependable skill set, and you should not be looking to get hired by, you know, as a character artist or as someone who works fast. You have to know how to do this to work fast. Okay, so not flipping the canvas because I don't want to be here forever. If I flip the canvas, I'll fall in love. That's my trap. Find 100 mistakes, I'm gonna have to sit here and fix them all. But I hope this was a good demonstration for you guys. And you'll see in a second when we bring in the eyes how complete it'll look, because the eyes are all we really need to complete the painting. Actually, no, I like the edge better. Starting to get a little bit stylized over here. Okay. Okay, my brush is large. I'm actually going to lower my strength all the way down. I'm starting to detail. I don't want any extra textures or new textures. Which value relative to the background do we start blocking with when starting a new painting? It has nothing to do with the background. You're just using your reference. So what's your reference telling you? If you're not using a reference, then what's your light environment and what's your skin tone of your character? These are all your choices. There's no one value at all. that I can give you. It's what's your character's skin tone? What time of day is it in your painting? Okay. When do you add shadows and highlights? At the end. I need another value around the nose. Do you guys see that? Right here. And I'm doing it at the end when I know I'm done. But I wouldn't do this now. I don't recommend doing this. I'm just going to add some of the black because I still have to add the pupils. And those are extremely important. Okay, so when I add the pupils, I'm going to have to adjust the lash line, but she kind of has eyes that are drifted apart. So I'm just aiming. I'm zoomed out, and no, fuck. Oops. So her eyes, half of them are showing. I used a hard round brush with my mouse to click. And I kind of got what I wanted. And then right after that, what I usually do is just start detailing. So there are a couple of lines you're allowed in a painting. There's the lash line, the water line. They're actually called lines. I'm just throwing in the lash line here with a nice lining sketch brush that I have. Any more questions? Okay, I'm just going to throw a little bit of water for the water line. My opacity is low, so I can use a high feed value to get what I need. A couple of lines over here. I think mine looks a little bit more derpy than she does, but honestly, I have no time for that. She's got a lot of makeup in her waterline. There's some detail needed for the pupils. And then I get the good old soft brush, low opacity. You can have high feed if you want. And then I start drawing in some cast shadows and some pocket shadows right here on the eye socket. On the outside, some maybe makeup. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Okay. Blending just a bit more. My friend's looking a little bit off. My version is looking a little bit off. Maybe her cheeks are a little bit too bright. But hope this demonstration was helpful. Get a puppy? I need a puppy in my life. I'm just using the soft brush to radially descend into the sides of the face towards her hair. And just thickening the lashes with soft brush. There's very specific uses for soft brush, which is why we don't use it as a power tool. All right? All right, let me give you a funny comparison. You don't cut down a tree with a butter knife, okay? Unless you really had to. Unless you really had to do it. But you don't cut down a tree with a butter knife, alright? When someone asks you, should I be using my soft brush normally? Just go ahead and tell them that. Would you cut down a tree with a butter knife? Hell no, you're not supposed to use your soft brush early. Okay, I kind of lost an edge there. Right back in. So why is round brush bad for blocking? Well, look at what you just asked. You're basically saying, why is it wrong to use a circle when it's time to use a square? John, come on. Why is round brush bad for blocking? What's the block look like? Right? My mouth's just squeaked. 60 years cutting a tree with a butter knife. Estarek, you can't control my knife usage purposes. You don't cut a tree with a butter knife. Exactly. It's like putting powder on before a liquid foundation. Oh my god! That was a really good one. Ow. Ow, that just hurt my brain. Putting on powder. Oh my god, exactly. Oh god. Alright, and then we've got, it's like framing, it's like putting up your pictures before painting the wall, and then you paint the wall. Oh god, the cringe, right? Why would you put up your framed pictures? It's like putting in all the furniture and the carpet before doing the flooring. It makes no sense. Okay, and then just blending in these areas. A lot of my edges have been touched by the soft brush, but none of them have been painted away. Okay, and then there's more work to do. There's more detail to bring in around the eyes. But this is how you paint. This is it. What is an edge? What is but an edge? I would enlarge her nose. I would do a little bit more work there. But let's talk about the edges around the nostrils. So she's got quite an annoying little nose because it's kind of got a dark light pattern, but like out of nowhere. And what I would really just need to see is that this value has traveled all the way. Gradually like radial shaded. Okay, and then this one here. How do you turn those off? So why is it bad to use a soft brush for blocking? Well, I ask you, why use a spoon to eat your salad? You're using a circle where you need a point. Oreo asks me if I'm scared of colors. To tell you the truth, Oreo, I am. I'm scared of when colors get in the way of a student learning how to do edge work. I'm scared because the students I book come in with all really scary looking values and scary looking colors. And yes, I do stay up at night wondering what kind of art will my student bring in tomorrow that I'll have to sit there for an hour correcting and instructing. So yeah, man, I'm scared of the dangers of color. I'm so scared. And then we've got our radial shades done with a soft brush, but gently. Don't be a, what's the word for it? Don't be a, it's a funny British slang word for being like a ditz or something. Ditz? Is that what it is? Why? Why use a pencil to shovel snow? That's perfect. She has a little bit of a mustache right over here. Okay. Not a full-on French mustache, but sorry, I can't say mustache sometimes. But just enough. Oop, need my blocking brush. Raise opacity all the way up. So remember that your blocking brush raises your opacity all the way back up because it's an application of a valuable color. It's a required necessity color. So you can't just switch between tools without changing your opacity. Write that back, please. When you go back into soft brush, you decrease opacity. When you go into blocking brush, up your opacity goes. Right. Now I'm just bringing in the final whites. Remember how I delayed the whites? This is why. Final whites on the eyes. Tried to capture her derpy look. Oh, it's very angry too. I wonder if she's watching this and she thinks I just called her derpy. Nah, she would never find my video. Well, she would see herself in the thumbnail. Oh no, I'm so sorry, Miss Model. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, a little bit of highlights right over here. When you go to soft brush, you decrease opacity. So change your opacity as you change your tools. Don't leave your opacity the same. Alright, and then now I'm just going to add in some really, really quick detailing around the eyes, and we can call it done. So I throw in the highlight, and then I bring in the pupil. Pupil goes right in the middle. There's no crossing anymore, though her eyes are not crossed by any stretch of the imagination. Okay. And then just blurring that a little bit, and then I'm going to darken the whole business. Is it don't be a wank? Don't be, I don't know what it is. Okay, and then I'm going to throw in those tiny little glistens, little specular lights right there, and then sharpen, sharpen. We're done. So mine is a little bit wider in the face. Again, I had no time for likeness. There's only so much I can do. But I hope this was a good example for you. I hope this went somewhere. I hope this kind of, registered. Please don't delay your blocking. Please block right away. And please don't assume that blocking is optional. Please remember that a block is an edge. Please remember that each block is a brush stroke. Please remember that you can use lines, but you need to prioritize your edges right after that. That your lines are not a replacement for the edge. What else did we cover? What are some of the bigger points that we've covered today? Okay, so I have no time to go deeper into the values. I just brought in her width a little bit. Don't be a pansy? No. Wank is not the word. I'm sorry. Wanker, maybe. Wanker. Don't be a wanker. One face, one shade. Yes. Brush strokes. Yes. Each plane is a brush stroke. Switch tools, change opacity. Good. We covered don't block with a circle. That's not a lesson John will soon forget. An edge by any other name would smell as sweet. You can't cut a tree with a butter knife. More planes equals more details, which is more blocking. Good. Block, brushes, edges, not using butter knife for cutting tree. Value shading. An edge used to be a line once. Edge? Line? I haven't heard that name in years. Lower opacity using soft brush. Stop blending too early. In fact, stop blending at all. After hours of this, Rebecca is leaking over into critique hour. I've noticed. And that's it. That's it, really. I have nothing else to really show for today. There are a number of changes I would like to continue with. If you've seen me paint in after hours, you know I don't really call it a day until it's 100% done. But, or at least close to. But I hope this was a good reminder for all the basics. I hope that the demonstration is only one part of today's lesson. Remember, keep your eye, if you just watched this, if you just watched only this bit, I don't like that. I want you to go back and watch where I was using my blue lines and red lines and actually explaining the fundamentals, the concrete building lines. I'm actually explaining that. So please go to that part of the video if you skipped it and just went straight to the paint over. Because I am serious about this. We all need to start thinking a little bit better about our use with brushes, be a bit more efficient, and know which brushes to use and when, become more acquainted with our tools and all the other stuff and bullet points we covered today. So, to join today's class, go to isterbeck.com and click on the little Google Plus icon. We have a challenge due on next week, Thursday, which is going to be really, really fun. I will see you guys on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday the 6th. to post. Just join, follow the rules, read the rules, and post. If you want critique, you give critique. Please read the rules. And if you liked what you saw today and you want to be a supporter on Patreon, you can go to Patreon by going to my website and clicking on the little icon here. Even if you're just joining as a watcher, it'll still help us reach our goal of 1,000 patrons. But if you want a little bit more of an intensive kind of student experience through my Patreon, there is the apprentice tier as well if you scroll down, and that'll be it's an alternative for private tutoring. It's less public and a little bit more focused on your work. You get a Discord, you get a private stream, you get a private critique hour that is at least an hour long. Sometimes we hit 2 hours. And that's it for today. Thank you everyone for coming in. I'm so sorry I don't have time to answer any more questions. Thank you everyone for joining. I will see you guys on Tuesday. Bye.